This is the reading for section 1 of chapter 26 for World War II. I'll read through the beginning. Actually, I'm going to skip right to lesson 1. And let's do the vocabulary like we always do. The first word is fascist, one who believes that the state is more important than the individual. Inflation, a steady rise in prices of goods. The title of the chapter or the lesson is Preparation for War. How did Mussolini and Fascism gain support in Italy? How did Hitler and Nazism gain support in Germany? Other words, Chancellor, citizenship. Chancellor is a chief minister in some European countries. Citizenship, the condition of belonging to a certain country. Here we have a picture of German dictator Adolf Hitler as he inspects the troops. How did fascism begin in Spain? How did Japan establish control in Asia? And how did America view the problems in Europe? All right, here we go. Before and during the Great Depression of the United States, other countries around the world had depressions of their own. The social and economic problems of these different countries brought different outcomes. For example, Germany, Italy, and Japan fell under the control of dictators. The whole world would soon feel the effects of these dictators' beliefs that war might be a good solution to their nation's problems. How did Mussolini and fascism gain support in Italy? Benito Mussolini had controlled the Italian government since 1922. He believed that a strong leader must have full power to run the country. Under his dictatorship, other political parties were forbidden. Mussolini created the Fascist Party. Fascists believed that the state was more important than the individual and rejected the idea of democracy. Fascists believed military power and war were good for a nation. Italian fascists used the slogan, "Believe, obey, fight." How did Hitler and Nazism gain support in Germany? The German people did not understand how they lost World War I. They were upset with the strict traditions of the peace settlement. Then World War I ended. Germany removed its king and established a democracy. The new Republic of Germany tried to govern its own troubled nation. The economy in Germany fell apart in 1923. Inflation made German money, paper money, nearly worthless. Inflation is a steady rise in prices of goods. Prices of goods doubled daily. Germans had to carry large bags of money just to buy food for one day. Many workers lost their jobs. The democratic government of Germany was criticized for being weak. The National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi Party, opposed the German government. Adolf Hitler led the Nazis. Hitler used his skills as a public speaker and organizer to increase the power of the Nazi Party. Hitler declared that democracy was weak and could not solve the nation's problems. He added that the economic crisis was not the fault of the Germans. He blamed Germany's problems on others. He told Germans that communists and Jews were trying to destroy their government. He promised prosperity for all Germans. He preached against democracy and for hatred of the Jews. Adolf Hitler became the Chancellor, or Chief Minister, of Germany in 1933. This happened after his Nazi party had won a majority of seats in Germany's parliament. Within months, Hitler became a dictator. He gave himself the title Der Führer. It meant the leader. Hitler and the Nazi party quickly destroyed German democracy and individual freedoms. Hitler was successful in improving the German economy. German unemployment dropped. The standard of living for most Germans rose. Hitler continued a campaign against German Jews. He called them traitors. German Jews lost their citizenship and their jobs. Citizenship is the condition of belonging to a certain country. How did fascism begin in Spain? A civil war broke out in Spain in 1936. General Francisco Franco and his forces fought against anti-fascists. The anti-fascists wanted Spain to have a democratic government. The Spanish Civil War became a test for the fascist governments of Germany and Italy. Italy sent troops to fight in Spain, and German planes bombed Spanish cities. The communist government of the Soviet Union supported the anti-fascists. Anti-fascist volunteers from Great Britain, France, and the United States also fought in this war. The Americans who fought did so by their own choice, not as members of the American military. The Spanish Civil War lasted 3 years. The Spanish fascist forces, supported by the governments of Italy and Germany, won in 1939. Franco became the leader of the new fascist government. How did Japan establish control in Asia? The worldwide depression also hurt Japan, an island nation in Asia. Japanese industries needed imported coal, oil, and iron. The depression made it difficult for nations to trade with each other. Without enough raw materials, Japan found its industries threatened. Japan relied on imported rice to help feed its people. Unable to grow enough rice on their own, many Japanese had no food. Radical military leaders, similar to those of Germany and Italy, took control of the Japanese government. The army seized Manchuria, an area rich in coal and iron, from China. In 1937, Japan invaded China again and captured several important cities. Japan had taken its first steps to control Asia and establish a Japanese empire. How did America view the problems in Europe? Americans did not want to deal with the problems in Europe. During the 1930s, Americans had a much larger problem at home with the Great Depression. The New Deal programs took time to plan and to put to use. There was another reason Americans ignored problems in Europe. The memory of World War I was still fresh in their minds. Americans wanted no part of another foreign war. Many people felt that the United States was protected by possible attacks because of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Congress passed laws in 1935 and 1937 to make sure that the United States stayed neutral. These laws prevented the sale of arms or lending money to countries of war. Throughout the 1930s, Americans watched Germany, Italy, and Japan increase in military strength. President Roosevelt was not so certain that the United States should ignore what was going on in Europe. Beginning in 1937, he tried to keep the country aware of the problems there. For that reason, some people criticized Roosevelt. They thought he wanted to start a war. All right, you can work on those review questions or your study guide.